Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We dig through stacks of sources, pull out the key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to understanding what's really going on. Today, we're tackling a topic that's incredibly complex and honestly quite moving: Haiti in 2025. Our sources lay out this picture of, well, immense struggle, no doubt about it, but also this thread of just incredible resilience. It's a real tension. And hey, before we jump right in, if you like getting insights like this, definitely check out Mind Expansion Daily. There's a ton more great info there. And if you're getting value from what we do here, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us grow. Also, if you feel like showing some extra appreciation, maybe buy us a coffee. The link's right there in the description. We also genuinely want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Do you agree with our take on Haiti's situation? Maybe disagree. Let us know. And please, tell us where you're tuning in from. We're trying to see how far this reaches globally. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, it's a vital story to understand. Haiti, the first independent Black nation, such a rich history, vibrant culture, but the sources are clear. Right now, it's facing this multi-layered crisis, and the assassination of President Jovenel Moise in 2021 really poured gasoline on the fire. The numbers are pretty stark. You've got 59% of 11.6 million people under the poverty line, over 5.5 million needing humanitarian aid. It's serious, but like you said, alongside that, these powerful stories of Haitian resilience just keep emerging. Community action, people finding ways. It's that core tension we really need to explore.
Absolutely. That struggle versus self-reliance.
Yeah.
So let's start with the politics. That instability seems foundational. The assassination of Moise in 2021, you mentioned it was a catalyst. What actually happened right after that? How did it lead to this, governance crisis we see today?
Well, immediately, it just created this massive power void. It was almost instantaneous. And by 2023, think about this, there were basically no elected officials left in the entire country. Zero.
Wow, no elected officials at all.
None, which, for any country, that's just shocking. And then Prime Minister Ariel Henry, who'd kind of stepped into the breach after Moise, he resigned in March 2024. And get this, he was stranded in Puerto Rico at the time. Couldn't even get back into Haiti because of the chaos.
Stranded, so he couldn't even physically be there to govern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they tried to patch things together with this transitional presidential council. They appointed Alex Didier Fils-Aimé in November 2024. But even that move is tangled up in controversy. People are questioning its legality, its legitimacy. It just underscores how deep the governance problems run. There's no easy fix.
It sounds less like a vacuum and more like a political black hole. And what's really disturbing, as you hinted, is what rushed in to fill that void. It wasn't democratic reform, was it?
No, not at all. It was gang violence, an explosion of it.
So these gangs, they're not just like street crime. They're acting like a parallel state in some areas.
Yeah.
Especially Port-au-Prince.
That's exactly right. Groups like G9, you might have heard of their leader, Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier. They effectively control something like 80% of Port-au-Prince.
80%.
Of the capital.
80%. They are, for all intents and purposes, the authority in huge swaths of the city. They control movement, resources.
Yeah.
They disrupt everything. And, our sources suggest this didn't just happen overnight. It's linked to years of weak state institutions, deep-seated corruption, and, frankly, allegations of complicity from powerful figures, political, economic, who might have seen these gangs as tools, to destabilize rivals, control things.
Oh, powerful people potentially enabling the chaos.
That's what the sources point towards. Tacit support, maybe even direct support sometimes, allowing them to get weapons, expand their territory, and the human cost. It's just devastating. In 2024 alone, over 5,600 people killed, 1.3 million forced from their homes. These gangs were attacking airports, prisons, basically paralyzing the capital.
And add to that, no elections since 2016. So any semblance of democratic progress, gone, reversed. The institutions are incredibly weak, leaving people just terribly exposed.
It's a terrifying illustration of state collapse. And inevitably, it's the ordinary people who suffer most. So let's pivot to that. What does all this political chaos and violence mean for the average Haitian's economic survival, day to day?
Well, economically, Haiti's situation is just incredibly tough. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, period. That GDP per capita figure, $7,748 in 2022, and 59% below the poverty line, those numbers tell a story. And there's a historical shadow here, too. After Haiti won its independence in 1804, a monumental achievement, France basically forced it to pay reparations.
Reparations to France. For what?
For France's loss of property, meaning enslaved people and plantations, France showed up with warships and demanded payment.
That's astounding.
It crippled the country from the start. They only finished paying that debt in 1947. Billions in today's money, just siphoned off. It starved the nation of investment for over a century.
So that historical burden is still felt today.
Absolutely. It set a pattern. And today, inflation hit nearly 30% in 2024. Imagine your food prices jumping by a third. Basic things become luxuries. Plus, the economy has been shrinking for 6 straight years. 6 years. GDP fell another 4.2% in 2024.
6 years of contraction.
Mhm.
What does that actually feel like for people?
It feels like jobs disappearing, businesses shutting down, families cutting back on food, pulling kids out of school, just a relentless daily grind for survival. And then you layer on top of that Haiti's extreme vulnerability to natural disasters. It's just one blow after another.
Right, the 2010 earthquake is seared into everyone's memory.
Exactly. Magnitude 7.0, around 220,000 people killed, 1.5 million displaced, a catastrophe on an unimaginable scale. But crucially, the sources emphasize how the mismanagement and corruption after the quake and the aid response, the rebuilding made things even worse down the line. It left the country even more fragile.
So the recovery itself kind of sowed the seeds for future problems.
In many ways, yes, the infrastructure wasn't properly rebuilt, accountability was lacking, and since then, more hits. 4 hurricanes back in 2008. Back-to-back storms in 2021. These just hammer agriculture, destroy homes, push communities further into poverty.
And the knock-on effects.
Huge. Nearly half the population, 45%, lacks access to clean water. As of 2025, 700,000 people are internally displaced, living in camps, often with little protection. This leads directly to food insecurity. We're talking 5.4 million people facing acute hunger. And almost unbelievably, 6,000 people are at famine-like levels. Actual famine.
6,000 people facing starvation.
It's horrific. And then there's disease. Cholera is back, over 60,000 suspected cases since 2022, largely because water treatment plants, especially in the Artibonite region, were damaged or destroyed and haven't been fixed.
So infrastructure fails, disease spreads.
Precisely. And remember the gangs. They often control the very routes needed to deliver aid or repair infrastructure. It creates this vicious cycle. Disaster hits, infrastructure fails, gangs block access, people suffer, recovery stalls, repeat.
It feels like an impossible situation. When the very systems meant to help are broken or blocked, where do people turn? Logically, you'd think international aid. But given everything you said, how effective has that aid actually been? Is it a lifeline or part of the problem sometimes?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? International aid has poured into Haiti. The UN alone spent over $13 billion between 2010 and 2020. But the results? Definitely mixed. And right now, there's a huge disconnect. The UN's 2025 plan needs $900 million for the absolute basics: food, water, health. Yet it's only 9.2% funded. 9%. That's the lowest funding level for any humanitarian plan anywhere in the world.
The lowest funded. Despite this level of crisis, that's hard to understand.
It suggests a real lack of global attention, or maybe donor fatigue, or perhaps disillusionment. Then you have the security mission, the MSSM, led by Kenya. It's got about $96 million pledged to help fight the gangs. But it's facing huge challenges on the ground. Questions about its mandate, how it operates, whether it can earn local trust. It's not a magic bullet.
And getting aid in is still a problem.
A major problem. Airports get shut down. Toussaint-Louverture was closed again in November 2024. Ports are often controlled by gangs. It's physically hard to deliver help. And this points to a really critical issue raised in the sources: how the aid is delivered. Get this, only 7.6% of U.S. aid since 2023 has gone directly to local Haitian organizations.
Only 7.6%. Wow. Where does the rest go?
Mostly through large international NGOs or private contractors, which often means, higher overhead costs, decisions made further away from the communities, and it potentially bypasses the local knowledge and networks that are crucial in a place like Haiti.
So the argument is if more aid went directly to Haitian groups, it might be more effective. Less overhead, more local buy-in.
That's a strong argument being made, yes. Local groups know the context, the needs, the people. They often have the trust that international groups struggle to build. Of course, the counter-arguments usually involve concerns about capacity or financial oversight within some local groups. But given the struggles of the current model, where international aid is so hampered, it really feels like underutilizing local capacity is a huge missed opportunity, maybe even counterproductive.
Right. It seems logical.
Now, that's not to say no good work is being done by international groups. Organizations like Concern Worldwide, the IRC, They are reaching people. They're providing health services, water, support for victims of gender-based violence, which, by the way, surged 40% in 2024. They're reaching tens of thousands in really tough areas like Cité Soleil.
So there are pockets of effective help.
Yes, absolutely. But the truly powerful counter-narrative here, the thing that just shines through the sources, is the resilience of Haitians themselves. It's not just coping, it's active resistance and creation. You see community programs like Sakala in Port-au-Prince. They're focused on youth leadership, nonviolence, actively trying to offer alternatives to kids who might otherwise be drawn into gangs. And that's crucial when you hear child recruitment jump 70% last year.
70%, that's horrifying.
It is. And then you have the women, the Madame Sarahs, these market traders. They are the absolute engine of the informal economy. Despite that terrifying spike in gender-based violence, they keep the local food markets going. They are incredibly brave and resourceful. They literally keep communities fed.
The backbone, really.
Totally. And there are political efforts, too, from within Haiti. The Montana Accord, for instance. It's a proposal developed by Haitian civil society groups for a Haitian-led path forward, emphasizing local solutions, not just top-down international ones. They aren't just waiting, they're organizing, proposing, building. And there's this one story from Concern Worldwide about a teacher named Marie. She's 34, lost her home in a hurricane back in 2021. She ended up in a displacement camp. And what did she do? She organized a school for 50 kids in the camp, using donated supplies. And it just sums it up. She said, "We can't wait for the world to save us. We save ourselves."
And we save ourselves. Wow, that's incredibly powerful. It speaks volumes, doesn't it, about agency, about dignity, even amidst crisis. What does that resilience, that spirit embodied by Marie, tell us about how the international community should engage? It seems like the standard top-down aid model just misses this completely.
It really does. Marie's story, the Madansa Sakala, they show there's immense capacity within Haiti. The solutions, or at least the seeds of them, are often already there. The challenge for the international community isn't just to write checks, it's to fundamentally shift the approach. It means listening more. It means trusting local actors. It means funding them directly. It means amplifying their solutions, not just imposing external ones. It requires a level of partnership and humility that, frankly, hasn't always been present.
So, what a deep dive this has been. Haiti in 2025. It's stark. A political system in pieces, overrun by gangs, an economy battered by history and disaster, aid struggling to connect. But then you have this unbelievable resilience, Marie's school, the market women, grassroots movements like the Montana Accord, Haitians fighting for their own future, saving themselves, as Marie put it, leaves you asking, are we globally really paying attention, not just to the suffering, but to the strength? You mentioned those social media posts noting the indifference. It feels accurate.
The urgency is undeniable. Ulrika Richardson from the UN called it urgent, yet the funding gap speaks for itself. Based on our sources, the path forward seems to involve several key things working together. First, obviously, funding. That $900 million UN plan needs to be fully funded. People need food, water, health care like yesterday. Second, empower local actors. Get way more than 7.6% of aid directly into the hands of Haitian organizations. Build their capacity, trust their leadership. Third, security. The MSSM needs the resources and support to actually make a difference in pushing back the gangs, creating safe zones. That's critical for everything else. And fourth, support Haitian-led governance solutions. Back initiatives like the Montana Accord. Foster sustainable, locally owned governance, not just another cycle of externally driven plans.
It sounds like a holistic approach is needed, one that addresses the immediate crisis, but also empowers long-term Haitian-led recovery.
Exactly. It's about breaking the cycles of crisis and dependency.
Well, this has been illuminating, if sobering. Haiti's story is one of deep historical wounds, ongoing turmoil, but also just incredible human resilience. Again, if you found this useful, please visit Mind Expansion Daily. Like, subscribe, maybe buy us that coffee link in the description, and definitely leave us a comment. What are your takeaways on Haiti? And where are you listening from? We'd love to know.
You know, the 2010 earthquake was such a defining catastrophe. It exposed so many vulnerabilities. But maybe the real defining moment is right now. It's about whether the global community decides to genuinely step up, focus its attention and resources, and support Haiti's own path towards stability. Or if the world largely leaves Haitians to rely solely on their own incredible but strained self-reliance. So the question for all of us, maybe, is what role should the global community play at this critical juncture? What's our responsibility here?